Breaking news, 2 people have been shot in West Baltimore, including an 18-year-old. Word of an arrest tonight.
Education was bad, detention was bad, how we house kids is bad. There was not a single compliment given.
Questions over the effectiveness of Maryland's juvenile justice system. The report finding young offenders are being failed by the state. What it finds is lacking at DJS.
The U.S. dollar dropping in value. I'm Atrell Nisharan. Coming up, what that means as some other countries look for a new reserve currency.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Frost in for Mary Bubalam. The Fox 45 News at 6 starts right now with the exclusive Fox Track, your Baltimore Minute.
Pastor Antoine Burton, president of the grassroots organization, which consists of a roster of about 1,000 men. Burton says We Are Us, which is slated to receive funding from Muncie, will be working in the rec centers when the city begins the youth curfew Memorial Day weekend, a mandate the mayor announced after 2 teens were shot at the Inner Harbor on Easter.
Dirt bikes and stunt racing has residents fuming.
And I'm just sick and tired of it.
The new solution to an old problem starts now. Councilman Isaac Yitzi Slifer meeting with BPD this week to discuss a plan to enforce this new law.
There's actually a new law in place that's a pretty strict law. It's the strictest in the state.
Washington has delivered a $2 million grant to plan for the redevelopment of this unfinished road.
Where we stand was once a connected, thriving community that has been separated for decades now as a result of this monstrosity.
Now, a Fox 45 News alert in 3, 2, 1.
A shooting investigation is unfolding in West Baltimore. This is what we know. This is at the corner of Mosher and North Calhoun Street. Police say 2 people were shot around 1 o'clock this afternoon. The victims include an 18-year-old boy and 37-year-old man. You can see a bullet-riddled car that had crashed. Incredibly, both victims are expected to survive. Now, police say someone with a gun was seen running from the area and has now been taken into custody. Police are calling that person a suspect at this time. So far this year, 175 people have been shot and survived in Baltimore. That's fewer than 38 this time last year. And sadly, 84 lives have been lost to violence this year. That's also down by 18 from this time last year. Mackenzie?
Kai, thanks. And breaking overnight, Baltimore County Police say a 17-year-old was shot and killed in Overly. The shooting unfolding near Bel Air Road and Rossville Boulevard just before 10 o'clock near a busy retail area. We've learned his identity is Elias Sisolak. Officers say they found him at the scene with a gunshot wound to his upper body. He died later at the hospital. No word of a suspect. And around Maryland, we're seeing a surge in teens either committing a crime or being victims of crime. And tonight, we're learning the juvenile justice system meant to help these kids turn away from crime could be doing the opposite. Here are the findings from the Attorney General's office. A blistering report of the Department of Juvenile Services. Increases in daily populations, lack of educational opportunities, substandard safety staffing plans, inadequate programming, and plumbing problems causing backed up toilets. Just some of the problems highlighted in these 100 pages.
The question is, do you keep funding this antiquated animal of an agency?
Jeremy Eldridge, a former prosecutor turned defense attorney.
Or do we just throw the baby in the bathwater out and start all over again?
Says DJS is a product of a system with a focus from lawmakers, but not enough support. The biggest concern, he says.
What's incredibly problematic about the Office of the Attorney General's report regarding juvenile justice is that they are advocating for juveniles to not be automatically charged as adults. If they're not automatically charged as adults, and this office is saying that we shouldn't detain them, what are we going to do with these minors that commit heinous crimes?
Looking closer at the problems outlined in the report, the Juvenile Justice Center in Baltimore City continues to operate as a prison-like environment. Contraband, an ongoing major concern, increasing 155% last year. Programming lacking. Persistent boredom found to be a serious concern. Kids frequently lament the lack of access to books, and staff reportedly unprofessional and antagonistic towards the kids inside. According to the report, one kid reported a staffer told him, "If I was your peers, I would beat your expletive." These problems found throughout many of DJS facilities. Charles Hickey Jr. in Baltimore County used handcuffs and leg restraints on kids 516% more in 2022 than 2021. 345% more cases of kids put in seclusion last year. Cheltenham Youth Detention Center saw restraints increase by 560% in 2022. Self-injury quadrupling. At almost every single facility, the report finding a lack of educational opportunities, which Eldridge says is a part of the boredom problem.
Whether you're talking about juveniles gathering at the harbor, or you're talking about juvenile boredom leading to assaults at a detention center, what you're talking about is the same. It's the same issue. And the issue is that we as adults are not providing programming. We're not providing rec centers. We're not keeping these kids busy in a way that keeps them out of trouble. And that is our responsibility along with their parents.
The problems persist with other facilities too, like the One Love group home in Baltimore City, where all 3 young people at the end of the year ran away from the home. The report finding One Love struggled to provide appropriate structure, supervision, and services during 2022. Lawmakers often calling for more wraparound services to be provided, but the services being offered now, this report shows, simply aren't adequate. Pointing to new DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi as the person responsible for changing the culture, Delegate Lou Clippinger wants a top-to-bottom review of DJS.
I believe that the Secretary will get into the guts of rebuilding this agency. That doesn't need legislation. That needs leadership.
Schiraldi says the agency is very troubled by the findings and is committed to achieving Governor Westmore's goal of having the best juvenile facilities in the country, all to ensure the agency leaves no one behind. In the meantime, lawmakers continue calling for more services to be provided within DJS, but the agency already struggling to meet current requirements, all while the juvenile violent crime trend continues to rise in communities all across Maryland. Now, in response to a rise in youth crime this summer, Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott will put in place a youth curfew, but very few details are being shared. We're learning, though, We Are Us, a grassroots organization, will be working in the rec centers when the city begins the youth curfew Memorial Day weekend. The group will receive funding from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or MODSE. We're told the city has agreed to generate a list of 50 of the city's most troubled youth who have been in the juvenile justice system and continue to live a life of crime.
While we were at the table, this is something that We Are Us said, hey, let us take on this task. Again, we know there's a breakdown somewhere from the young person's release from the detention center to their home. So we want to fill those gaps, and that's a proposal that we presented.
We've also been questioning Baltimore police on how the department plans to enforce this curfew. The commissioner last week telling Fox 45 News the department is also waiting on a finalized plan and is working with the mayor's office. Tomorrow, Mayor Brandon Scott will be joined by other city leaders, including City Schools CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises. They are expected to provide an update 1 year after work began to build a community violence intervention ecosystem in the city. You can watch it live at 10:15 on our mobile app or through our social media pages. And we want to hear from you. Do you have confidence in city leaders to get crime under control this summer? So far, 96% of voters say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in right now. And here's a look at our top trending stories today. Number 1, state police investigating the death of an inmate at an Allegheny County Correctional Institute. The 35-year-old man has been identified as Christopher Barrett. He was found dead in his cell Friday morning. Maryland State Police Homicide Unit is leading the investigation. Number 2, a case of tuberculosis has been confirmed at Joppatown High School in Harford County. All students, staff, and families were made aware of the case by phone this morning. The Harford County Health Department has begun contact tracing. They've offered free testing and treatment to those who need it. TB is an airborne infection caused by bacteria that affects the lungs. We have more information on this case and the symptoms on our website at foxbaltimore.com. Number 3, new efforts to tackle West Baltimore's highway to nowhere. Today, federal and state leaders announcing the start of a 2-year study to close the unfinished highway. That project in the 70s forced a number of black families in West Baltimore out of their homes. The city now has $2 million to study what to do next.
Where we stand was once a connected, thriving community that has been separated for decades now as a result of this monstrosity. And people say, well, you can't do anything about it. And yet here, almost 50 years later, we are doing something about it.
The impacted communities have formed the Reconnecting Communities in West Baltimore Coalition. They will meet this Saturday. You can find more information about that on our website at foxbaltimore.com. And we're following breaking news from Oklahoma, where a deadly shooting has occurred on a college campus. And 2 big TV exits today. What we know about Tucker Carlson's departure from Fox, as well as Don Lemon's departure from CNN.
And I was mistaken. The O's are actually in town tonight and the next 2 nights after tonight. First pitch is at 56 against the Boston Red Sox. Will be at 52, 5th inning, and 49. Maybe a jacket needed there by the 9th, so I'd bring one along. I'm going to let you know where we could have frost and freeze conditions overnight in my Weather Authority forecast.
Now, a Fox 45 News Alert in 3, 2, 1.
Breaking news to report. There's been a deadly shooting on a college campus in Oklahoma. It happened this afternoon at Rose State College, that's located in Midwest City near Oklahoma City. We understand one person is dead and a suspect is in custody. Police say the shooting appears to be domestic related. Although a shelter order in place was put in place, it's now been lifted. At the White House this afternoon, President Biden again called for gun control. The president met with lawmakers in Tennessee who were briefly ousted after joining a gun control protest at their state capitol. And we're keeping our eyes on the White House. We expect President Biden to announce another bid for the White House sometime this week. That announcement could come as soon as tomorrow. Exactly 4 years since he launched a bid that saw him elected. Mackenzie?
All right, Kai, thanks. Now let's take a look at the Fox Quad Box. Evacuation efforts continue in Sudan, with Germany's military airlifting more than 300 German citizens this morning. It comes after the U.S. military evacuated U.S. diplomats and their families Sunday. It's all in response to ongoing fighting between rival military factions in Sudan's capital. Tucker Carlson out at Fox News. Fox News Media says the company and the primetime host have agreed to part ways immediately. No reason for the sudden split was given, and a new host has not yet been named. Over at CNN, anchor Don Lemon has also been fired. Lemon confirmed the news via Twitter, saying he found out he was terminated from his agent following this morning's news. It comes nearly 2 months after he apologized for his on-air comments about Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley. No reason was given for Lemon's exit. Former Dancing with the Stars judge Len Goodman has died. His manager says Goodman has been in hospice following a battle with bone cancer. The British dance expert was on the competition show from 2005 until last year. He was 78 years old. Now, if you're traveling overseas this summer, you may notice your dollar won't go as far as it would have 6 months ago. Sinclair's national correspondent Atra El-Nashar has the details.
This moment of global economic uncertainty bringing fears of a de-dollarization, the U.S. dollar losing its status as the world's reserve currency. The dollar's value falling from its 20-year high last fall, but still higher than it was this time last year. Turmoil in the banking sector, an aggressive Federal Reserve, and slowing economic activity fueling the dip in value. Meanwhile, countries like China and Brazil leading calls to find a new reserve currency, reaching an agreement for bilateral trade to be settled in their own currencies. And this could take hold with other countries like Malaysia, whose prime minister recently said there's no reason for them to keep relying on the dollar to attract investment. But the greenback still reigns supreme, accounting for more than 58% of global reserves, according to IMF data. And even those who are pessimistic about the U.S. economy point out that if other countries started looking for another reserve currency, there's no obvious alternative.
Where are they going to move? Are they really going to hold large quantities of assets in RMB?
Fed Chair Jerome Powell, whose track record on inflation has been heavily criticized, says the dollar's status isn't facing any real threat.
I think it's a pretty stable equilibrium. It's not a permanent equilibrium, but there isn't really a serious competitor.
The euro is the second most traded currency, but trails the dollar by more than half its volume. Decades of precedent and economic strength keeping the dollar on top, but not stopping other countries from at least rocking the boat by looking elsewhere. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar reporting.
All right, a look at the Fox Triplecast on the Mile 1 Taos Camp, Toyota Issue to Harbor Sky Camp. Just a couple of patchy clouds and a cool feel to things, almost kind of like autumn outside today, and actually a frost advisory and freeze warning for portions of the area tonight. And then you see circled there on the HD radar, that's our latest weather maker that continues to kind of spin over portions of the Great Lakes with some rain and snow showers, and that's actually helping to force in some of the chillier air. That's why we have that frost advisory in effect, with clearing skies tonight for northwestern Hartford County, northern Baltimore County, as well as northwestern Howard County, and Carroll County is under a freeze warning overnight into early tomorrow. So bring those tender plants inside, gardeners. 59 right now, winds out of the west-northwest at about 10, made it up to about 61, I believe, was a high for today. Toyota Issue to Harbor Skycam looks good, but yeah, it's kind of chilly. Gonna need those jackets. Lots of 50s. No more of those 80s across the board here, and really 50s across the state. until you get way up toward Oakland, a couple thousand feet up, and it's at about 41. And those 40s go all the way to the Great Lakes. Winds out of the west going to help usher in some of that chillier air for tonight. Again, that latest weather maker with some rain and snow showers toward north. That's where that stays. And the next weather maker is over the Intermountain West. That is going to be moving our way. Sunshine and cool weather continuing through tomorrow. And then that next weather maker, there it is, starting to emerge from the Midwest. As we head into Tuesday, it's approaching. By Wednesday, I think it gets here with some showers. So there are those frosty numbers north and west overnight into early tomorrow morning. Some low to mid 30s, maybe some upper 20s, say around Westminster. And then tomorrow afternoon, barely even making it out of the upper 50s and low to mid 60s tonight. 43 tomorrow, all the way through the next 10 days. Coming up in my exclusive 10-day forecast.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Incredible images from a widely visible aurora borealis last night. Severe geomagnetic solar storms allowed for the northern lights to be seen as far south as Texas. Iowa meteorologist Nick Stewart even captured a meteor streaking across the purple and green sky. Early Sunday morning, it was a much more dangerous light show in Texas as this lightning bolt struck a tree near San Antonio.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Society as a whole would realize that there is a right and there is a wrong.
It doesn't matter who is showing love. We need to all show love to everyone.
Another community in America grappling with children and drag performances. A look at the debate unfolding in one New York town. The community in Pittsford in New York clashing over a drag story hour. Sam Carter has the full story.
At times, tempers flared. outside the Pittsford Community Center as Pittsford's Drag Story Hour moved back to the Pittsford Community Center after it was held at a bookstore last week. Some protesting the event, like Pittsford's Don Weatherstrip, say these events are aimed at people too young to know better.
It's a certain age where you can discern right from wrong, and they're trying to reach those who are not at that age yet and have minds that can be influenced.
In response to the protests, those in favor of the Story Hour also gathered, in some cases holding signs and chanting about community and acceptance. Some, like Jenny Stanberry, say indoctrination has nothing to do with Drag Story Hour.
I am saying that love is really paramount and that it doesn't matter who is showing love. We need to all show love to everyone.
Drag Story Hour moved back to the Pittsford Community Center after the town reversed an original decision that would have forced organizers to foot a bill for security of more than $8,000. For Don Weatherstrip, he says he's not there to cause a fuss, but rather win, if not hearts, minds.
That their conscience would be stirred a little bit. I'm hoping that society as a whole would realize that there is a right and there is a wrong.
For those there in support, like Jenny Stanberry, they say the message of these events is much more about acceptance than anything else.
Kids should know that it's important to be themselves and to let their insides shine on the outside and that they will be loved regardless.
Sam Carter, Wham News.
All right, your exclusive 10-day forecast continued cool for tomorrow. High temperatures in the low and mid 60s after potentially a frosty start. 65, a few showers on Wednesday. Spot sprinkle on Thursday. Back to a risk of some showers on Friday. 67, and then maybe a spot sprinkle again Saturday. 70, a better chance of some heavy rain and maybe some thunderstorms. Sunday, some spotty showers on Monday of next week, and highs near 70 and drying out by the middle and end of next week.
Finally tonight, an incredible sight in Towson as 8th graders at Loyola Blakefield played host to prom for senior citizens. Yesterday's event was open to the public. Students served food, took photos, and of course made an excellent playlist for some dancing.
I got a corsage and I had prom pictures taken. The food was delicious and the dancing was superb. I didn't know I could still turn a few twists, but it was an excellent adventure. I met a lot of friends at my table. Such a wonderful, charming thing. All the Loyola students who were working did their jobs excellently.
Love that. The school says the students decided to put on the prom after learning about Alzheimer's disease and how important social interaction is to keeping your mind healthy. That's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Thank you so much for joining us. Family Feud is next. Have a great evening.